All right, joining us on stage now is three-time NHRA Funny Car Champion Ron Capps. Ron, how's your PRI been so far, and how have you been?
It's like you and I were just talking off camera. It's one of my favorite shows. You know, years ago I went. It used to be in Columbus, Ohio, believe it or not. When I drove for Don the Snake Prudhomme, I remember going there, and it was snowy. A kid grew up in California, so I wasn't quite used to the weather. And then went to Orlando all those years, and I think it's just a natural thing for it to be here in Indianapolis. I mean, this is the racing capital of the world as far as I'm concerned. We've got all the drag racing shops in Brownsburg, about 20 minutes from here. And, of course, all the IndyCar teams that are here, and it's just a racing town. So I got in Tuesday night, and it's been dinners and drinks every night. And it's funny, I walked in this morning, we had our first appearance at a booth at 10 a.m., and everybody's a little glossy-eyed over because everybody's been out the night before having a good dinner and maybe some drinks and having a good time. And really, that's what this is all about. It's B2B stuff. And this is where you say thank you to your sponsors and your partners for everything they do all year long. So it's a great show. If you haven't been and you're watching this, you need to put it on your radar because it's definitely a racing show.
Now, obviously, you've already had a busy off-season. Well, I saw on social media the Capps Cruise. What is the Capps Cruise?
Yeah. Capps Cruise is something when I was sponsored by Brute Cologne, the travel person for the guy that owned Brute, put that together. She had a country music star she did a cruise with, and she asked me if I wanted to try, and I said, nobody's going to sign up to go on a cruise with me. And lo and behold, we did it the first year, and it went 13 straight years as a cruising with Capps, and then COVID happened. So we hadn't done it until this year, and we had a good group of people, went out of Long Beach. When it was going every year, we would go to different ports to be closer to certain fans. So we'd bounce between Florida and New Orleans and maybe West Coast. And we had probably 50 people that signed up this last year, and it's just a lot of fun. 7 days of hanging out with me. And the good thing about the cruise and the people that go on it is I don't have to worry about pictures and video being posted on the internet. They're really good about that, and we have a good time. We get a little nutty, but it's fun, and they're able to ask me anything they want, and little meet and greets that we do, and I'm able to be honest about them behind the scenes, and that kind of thing the fans love. So it's grown and grown, and we'll do it again next year.
And now looking at your last season as a whole, went winless. However, you had a good bit of just turnover and everything else. I know we've talked before and mentioned how the your clutch disc set up and trying to get that figured out. How would you describe the 2024?
Yeah, I drove for Don Prudhomme for almost 10 years and then Don Schumacher all those years. I've seen it. I've been around. I've had some of the best crew chiefs in the history of drag racing. And I've been very lucky to have these mentors around me. So I knew there would be struggles as a team owner, but I knew the game plan and the big picture thing for Guido was to get the clutch package. Any race fan that sees their favorite car, whether it's Top Fuel or Funny Car, struggle. A great example is David Grubnick and Brittany Forrest. That car was track records almost every run and qualifying, and then all of a sudden they went into a little bit of a struggle. And I'm trying to always be open with our fans on social media and let them know what's going on behind the ropes. Why were we struggling a little bit? Well, every fan needs to know the clutch is probably the most important thing of a nitro engine. Yeah, they make 12,000 horsepower. But if you can't harness that and get that to the ground and catapult that funny car or dragster to what you want it to do, then it's not going to happen. So Guido felt like we won 2 world championships in a row. We needed to get ahead of the game, and he felt like that was what we needed to do. Well, I knew we'd struggle a little bit. I didn't realize, and to me, some fans, we still had good success and almost won like 4 different races. We were in final rounds, but it's not what we're used to. Well, we went to 3rd place in the countdown, battled back, had a great car, threw down my career best and track record in Pomona on Saturday, and showed 290 mile per hour at half track, which is incredible for a funny car. So I think Guido is very comfortable. Now we can start the season in Bradenton and Gainesville with a race car that's ready to battle Proc and Tasca and Hagen and all these other cars. So I'm really pumped about going into next year on that front.
And you mentioned with kind of finishing off the season on a high note, with the ET record or whatever it was. How much can you use what you learned in that last race, the last couple races, that can help propel you? And you mentioned Austin Proc and how those guys have really found something this year.
I don't know if they, yeah, they, okay, so the car, you know, I joke with Jimmy Prock that he didn't even leave a tiny morsel for the rest of us funny. I mean, they broke every single record they could have. They set track records. That car I've been battling. I said it early on in the season. I raced Prock the first time wherever we were at. And I said, I'm used to racing this car with Robert Height in it. And if you're going to win a world championship, you had to go through the Prock and Height car. It's a given, right? We were always in the conversation that you had to go through. So was Hagen's car. It didn't surprise me. Austin's a little different driver than Robert. He brings a little different to the table, I think, in that car. But that's the same car, and I'm used to battling Jimmy Prock, and Jimmy's used to battling Guido to be there in a win or a world championship. So, but boy, I don't think I've seen a car from start to finish in a season not struggle at all anywhere. They had a couple races, well, maybe they didn't, but that car was the top of the heap. That is hard to do, and I've done it in the past. You know, with Guido and with Ron Tobler, we had a couple 8-win seasons that we were dominant like that and ended up with a world championship. But it doesn't happen often. So I loved it. I wished we would have had our normal car to battle with them, but we're going to have it this next year, and it's going to be fun to get up and battle with Austin and Jimmy and really all the other funny car teams.
Now, one of the highlights of your season, second straight year running a snake throwback at Indy here in Indy. Just how cool has that program been to be able to bring back paint schemes that you grew up watching, loving to see on track and having diecast, whatever else?
Unbelievable. You know, the first year we did the Hot Wheels car, which was at the show here last year in the Edelbrock booth. I still have people this morning. I had a fan come up teary-eyed saying that car at Indy brought them so much memories, like it did you and I. I mean, I grew up playing with that Hot Wheel when I was a kid. But to have Don Prudhomme there at Indy and have that tribute to that car that won 50 years ago and win the race was incredible. It's the highlight of my career, and for sure, you can't even script that, right? And we probably should have left it alone. And then the guy that does our designs, Dave Merrick, came up with the Army car and sent that drawing to me, and he said, "What about this car this year?" And I went, "Oh boy, here we go." So how do you top it? Well, we went to the final round and brought out one of the coolest cars and probably the winningest funny car and the most lethal. If you talk to any fan or any funny car driver from back in the day in 70s, that Army car was unbelievable. So to be able to do that and have Snake there again at the biggest race, as most of your viewers know by now, Napa jumped on board, and there was a huge announcement this morning. They were the official auto parts of NHRA. That's a big deal. So we're going to see a lot more fun stuff. But it shows that Napa wants to be more involved with NHRA drag racing. So I've been blessed. Chase Elliott, Brad Sweet, Bill McAnally's team. I mean, I've got the best teammates you could ask for and the best sponsor. But you look around that landscape, I don't think you'll find a sponsor with a better bunch of drivers in different series than what we have. So it's been fun to represent Napa, but it's going to be really fun in 25 here to sort of have them more involved with NHRA.
And final question, going into next year, from a team owner perspective, how do you feel? What have you learned from this year that you can go into next year and use and be an even better team owner?
Man, it's a great question. I talked to you about it. We haven't announced it completely yet, but we're going to bring on a Top Fuel dragster in 2026. We've already got the driver. She's driving an alcohol funny car now. Be fun to see her win a world championship. Her dad did in that very car 2 years ago. So we have that on the horizon. We got a lot of fun sponsors and partners that want to be a part of it. And with the women in drag racing, it's going to be a lot of fun to bring out another car. But it's all Guido, and I wouldn't do it without his blessing, first of all. And we don't want to bring out another funny car that's going to battle against our funny car. So we feel like it's a perfect opportunity to do that. So I think to answer your question, you think I'd be smart enough to not want more that makes me keep me up at night and not let me sleep, but it looks like we're going that route. But I also think it's going to be fun and exciting. So every day is a new day for me as a team owner, and I'm trying to tread water and just get through it all. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I got a lot of people to lean on. Rick Hendrick. I mean, I got so many people business-wise. Don Prudhomme, John Force even calls all the time wanting to help. So I'm blessed to have that kind of support. And Paul Mecca, our team manager, has been with me from the beginning. So we're going to try and keep the train rolling.
Well, Ron, we appreciate you taking the time. Good luck next season. Enjoy the rest of PRI. That is Ron Capps, 3-time NHRA Funny Car Champion.